This week on the Special of the Week, Michelob presents Billy Joel, happy just the way he is.
The purpose of life, for me, this is my philosophy, is to be happy, is to enjoy yourself and like what you do and like yourself.
This week on the Special of the Week, Michelob presents Billy Joel. Everybody's been following Billy Joel's life since he's become a star. Everybody, that is, but Billy.
Everybody's got a great story. I'm fascinated by what is ordinary, what's common. To me, that's romantic.
And now, Michelob hopes you enjoy the Special of the Week.
What's a girl like you doing in a nice place like this?
That's how I got in on the ground floor in leisure suits. You see, thanks to Abby.
What place are mine?
My wife doesn't understand.
Bartender, another tonic and gin, please. Yeah, and another for the lady. Thanks. Me? No, I don't come here often. I've been kind of a stranger to piano bars ever since the last of them closed on 52nd Street a long time ago. My name? I'm Robert W. Morgan. That's right. I'm here conducting research. You see, this week on the Special of the Week, the piano man becomes the man for all reasons. From the broken promises and broken promissory notes of Piano Man to the sax and violins of Just the Way You Are, he's chronicled the lives of the first generation of Americans to pack up the urban radical rage of their youth and bring it with them to suburbia. He makes simple lives seem fascinating and routine lives romantic. Yet the most fascinating, the most romantic of all these lives is his, the one that lives between the lines of his music, the life of Billy Joel.
The things people consider to be mundane, to me, I think are some of the most fascinating things. What is common for humanity is fascinating. I mean, human beings are fascinating. Everybody's got a great story. Everybody has a great experience. They don't know it, though. The guy who's a plumber, who's a great plumber, he doesn't think he's got a really special gig. But to me, it's really important. What happens if my toilet breaks? What am I going to do, walk into my bathroom and sing? I need that plumber, you know what I mean? I'm fascinated by what is ordinary, what's common.
It's true. Everybody does have a dream. And it seems as if the waking dream of every breaking artist is to become a rock star. Now, that's why I was so surprised to learn Billy Joel couldn't care less about stardom. But then again, he's been studying his astronomy.
My motive isn't to be a rock star. I'm not going to fight it. I mean, it's fun. But I know people who are rock stars, and that's all they are. They're just rock stars. I mean, so what the hell is that? Technically, what is a star? It's a large ball of gas, you know? You don't have to have any substance to be a star. I don't put any faith in stardom. The music business is very fickle. It blows hot and cold. I may be hot right now, but if I don't have a string of top 10 records, I'll get cold. But that, I don't really give a damn. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life, whether I have hit records or not.
Because Billy Joel's star appeared so suddenly, illuminating the music charts like a brilliant supernova, his lack of interest in his record sales might seem superficial. But Billy's been making music his life, all his life, and he knows the musical moments which endure the longest are those the artist and his audience share together.
When I'm on stage, when I'm performing, I'm in this whole other, I'm up on stage and I'm this humongo rock star guy, you know? And if I ever sat down and started analyzing while I'm on stage, what the hell is going on here? These people paid money to come see me and they're all applauding me. I'd lose it. I'd fall apart. I'd go to pieces. The regular guy I like to think I am, the guy who just hangs around as a normal person and then goes up on stage and plays music, that's schizophrenia, but it's healthy. I'm lucky, you know? I have an outlet for my expressionistic compulsions. People think everything I write is autobiographical. That bothers me. They think everything I write is about me, and my life, and my times. Like every album is the continuing picture of Dorian Gray. It's not true. I have an imagination. Mostly I write about other people, and they don't even know it.
Which leads me to the obvious question, does Billy ever get confronted by old friends who recognize their own lives in one of his songs?
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say that. I've gotten calls from old friends in the middle of the night. Was that about me? Was that about me? And there's a few songs here and there that are based on one person. A lot of songs are composites. When I write a love song about a woman, I suppose most people assume that it's about my wife. I love my wife, but she represents women to me. And when I write a love song, it's not just for my wife. It's about a lot of women in general, you know? Like a song like Just the Way You Are.
Billy Joel hassles the Long Island Sound. Next on the Special of the Week. I'm Robert W. Morgan.
Weekends were made for Michelob. Weekends were made for special friends.
This special of the week is our way of inviting you to become even better friends with the unique talents of Billy Joel and the smooth and mellow taste of Michelob, two very special American originals.
Weekends were made for special times, special places, special things, those special moments a weekend brings. It's the time to have that smooth and mellow beer. It's Michelob. Weekends were made for Michelob. Weekends were made for Michelob.
Yeah.
Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis. I'm Robert W. Morgan on the special of the week with Billy Joel.
My real name is Joel, William Martin Joel. That's my real name. Everybody thinks I'm Italian. I'm not Italian. I just found this out recently. My mother's family is English. My father's family is German. And the name is actually French. It's Joël. But the Italian thing just comes from the neighborhood I grew up in. And if you grow up in a particular neighborhood, an Italian neighborhood, you're an Italian by assimilation. I grew up in Hicksville, Long Island, which is, you know about Levittown? You know what Levittown is? It's like Xerox tract housing.
Hicksville, Long Island, home of families fleeing New York's teeming streets. The brave new world they created in suburbia closely resembled the one they left behind, except the grass really was greener. They even had teenage gangs in Hicksville, including the group of greasers Billy Joel ran with.
We thought we were cool. Some people called us punks. You know how they have punks now? I mean, those guys make me laugh. They call themselves punks. If you're a punk, you don't call yourself a punk. Other people call you a punk. We had motorcycles, had gang fights and all that stuff. It wasn't like the 50s. I mean, this was the 60s. Our older brothers, they were the real hoods. We were more like diddy boppers. Diddy boppers are the guys who talk about fighting. Diddy boppers were like the lovers, the smooth lovers.
Although Billy could cruise Hicksville with the best of them, his home life made him different from the rest of them. You see, his parents didn't have a television set, but they did have a piano. Without television, Billy took up reading, entering a realm which rewards those with vivid imaginations. And with a piano, Billy learned he could do more with his hands than gesture.
I just did it because it was something to do. It's like some kids go to Little League. That's what I did. I took piano lessons. I think by the time I got to be about 10 or 11, I wasn't into it. I hated practicing. I hated having to sit down and read the notes. I get lazy. So I started making up my own stuff. When it was time for me to practice, my mother would be in the other room and say that week I had a Beethoven piece. Instead of reading the Beethoven piece, I used to make it up. But my mother knew Beethoven's style, so if I was going to write, I had to write in the style of Beethoven. And she'd be listening, and she'd be saying, wow, you're learning that one really quick. And I go, yeah, well, this is a pretty easy one. And then the next day, I wouldn't remember what I played the day before, so I'd make up something else. She'd go, what's that? That's not what you played yesterday. So, oh, that's the second movement.
This double life of Grease and Grieg, of Choppers and Chopin, of Braun and Brahms, eventually caught up with Billy. To most kids in his neighborhood, tickling the ivories meant knocking out a few teeth.
And I got in a lot of fights because of that. Oh, here comes little piano boy. That's when I started boxing, because I got in a lot of fights. And I decided to hell with this man. I went and I learned how to box, and I was good. And I went back and I beat up everybody who ever beat me up, and it really sounds stupid now, but at the time it was great, you know? I went back and I beat the hell out of anybody who ever beat me up.
While in high school, Billy abandoned gangs for bands. It was the mid-'60s, and a new kind of blue-eyed soul was sweeping Long Island. One which record company executives hyped as the Long Island Sound. The teenage Billy Joel was a part of that sound, and his first band was appropriately named the Lost Souls.
The Lost Souls were together for about 2 or 3 years, and we started playing in the bigger clubs, and there was a group on Long Island that was pretty popular called the Hassles. This was around the time of the Rascals, the Vagrants. Remember the Vagrants? You know who they were? Leslie West Mountain was in the Vagrants. There was a group called the Pigeons that became the Vanilla Fudge, and the Hassles was one of those groups. And they saw me in this group, the Lost Souls, and they asked me if I wanted to join. And I really felt bad about leaving the old band, so I said, look, I'll tell you what, if you take the bass player, I'll join the Hassles. So that's how I got into the Hassles.
Years later, on the other side of America, in Los Angeles, Billy Joel would have other kinds of hassles. These, however, would pay off in a tale of lives mixing with drinks in a piano bar.
And I had to pay the rent, so I got a job playing in a piano bar under a pseudonym. I used my middle name. I was Bill Martin. I think a lot of people think I was the piano man all my life. I only did that for 6 months. I took on this whole alter identity, dressed like Buddy Greco, and it was, hey, how you doing? Hey, you're beautiful. How you doing? It was fun. I mean, a lot of people think, well, wow, it must have really been depressing, but I knew it was only temporary. I made union scale, and it was the first steady money I'd made in a long time, and I got free drinks, and I was half crocked when I was doing it anyway.
Heading them up and moving them out. Next, with Billy Joel on the Special of the Week. I'm Robert W. Morgan. I'm Robert W. Morgan. This week on the Special of the Week, the piano man who's no longer a stranger, Billy Joel. His songs are about ordinary people leading extraordinary lives. The campus sweethearts on the brink of divorce, the heavy drinker with a heavier hangover, Anthony saving his money for someday. But of all of these lives, Billy Joel's is the most extraordinary. The tale of a tough, streetwise kid from suburban Long Island who succeeded in a tough business, music, on his own terms. Billy Joel, just the way he is. This week on the Special of the Week. I'm Robert W. Morgan with Billy Joel on the Special of the Week. I first met Billy in Houston. That's a long way from Hicksville, Long Island. He'd just given a concert at the Summit, home of the Houston Rockets, and it was one of the most remarkable performances I'd ever seen, from the subtle sensitivities of his softer ballads to the sweeping grandeur of his New York-tinged rock and roll. He made his songs come to life. It was as if all the world were a stage, and Billy Joel could play all the parts. That's why I was so surprised when he told me after the show that in the beginning, he never wanted to be a performing artist.
I wanted to be a songwriter. I didn't even want to be a performer or a recording artist. The advice I got from people in the music business was, well, if you want to get your songs heard, best way to do is just, get a record deal, make a record, lay your songs out. So that's what I did. And I signed a recording contract and made an album of songs. Once the album was finished, the advice was, well, now that you got this album, best thing to do is go out on the road and play and get people to hear you and start playing your record. I mean, one thing led to another, and now it's Billy Joel. Which is ironic. I mean, it's still kind of a joke to me.
But Billy couldn't find much to laugh at when his first album, Cold Spring Harbor, was released. In order to make that album, Billy had signed contracts he soon regretted. In fact, that's what brought him to that piano bar in Los Angeles, where he marked time waiting for his lawyers to take care of business with the people who'd given him the business.
You can give advice, but when it comes down to the crux, when somebody comes along and offers you a record deal or a contract deal and offers you an advance or a lump sum of money when you've been scraping, says, we'll sign you, we'll take you on, and we'll give you an advance, and we'll give you a record deal, we'll let you make a record. All you got to do is sign this piece of paper. No matter what kind of advice anybody gives you, it's very hard to turn it down, because you don't know when it's going to happen again. I was 21, which means you're old enough to be legal, and you're young enough to be a real jerk. I didn't know what I was signing. I signed away everything.
From a piano bar to the Bar of Justice, it took Billy Joel 3 years to untangle his legal problems. During that time, he lived in Hollywood. And if you're wondering how he liked life out west, remember this. Billy Joel now lives in New York. When Billy Joel said goodbye to Hollywood, he said hello to the philosophy of life which would guide the future course of his musical career.
I'm accused sometimes of being very judgmental and preachy and harsh. But the one thing I can't stand is people chasing the almighty dollar and wasting what their real talent is. The purpose of life, for me, this is my philosophy, is to be happy, is to enjoy yourself and like what you do and like yourself. And that's what I think your gig in life is, to find out what you're good at and follow it and do it. No matter what kind of tourist you got to go through. Hey, man, you're living, might as well live. Don't just exist. Independence, standing up for what you believe in, not taking any crap from anybody.
Miracle on 52nd Street. That's next with Billy Joel on the Special of the Week. I'm Robert W. Morgan.
Weekends were made for Michelob. Weekends were made for special friends. It's the time to have that smooth and mellow beer. It's Michelob. Here's one beer, the meaning's clear. it says you serve the best. Weekends were made for special times, special places, special things, those special moments a weekend brings. It's the time to have that smooth and mellow beer. It's Michelob. Weekends were made for Michelob. Weekends were made for Michelob.
Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
I'm Robert W. Morgan on the special of the week with Billy Joel. His decision to move back to New York was a wise one because Billy Joel is New York. If you close your eyes and listen carefully to Billy's songs, you can actually hear Park Avenue and Elaine's, Yankee Stadium and Spanish Harlem, Hackensack and the subway turnstiles. Billy Joel music is like a Manhattan spiritual.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. It's a romantic place to me. I mean, it's like what Disneyland was to people in Los Angeles, New York was to people who were from Long Island, which is where I grew up. It's fascinating and wonderful and terrifying and scary, and it's all those things rolled into one. It's like, you know, the roller coaster and the horror show and the haunted house and great food. I mean, I have an apartment in Manhattan now. I still have a house in Long Island now. The reason I have a house in Long Island is because if I get an idea to write a song at 3 o'clock in the morning in my apartment in New York City, there's no way I can bang on the piano at 3 o'clock because somebody goes, "Shut up, you make too much noise, you wake my children up." And you can't, well, I'm writing this song. I don't care what you do, I got to get some sleep. So I got the house so I can write songs in the middle of the night. You know, but I get most of my ideas from being in the city.
It was an album titled The Stranger, which made Billy Joel a friend on millions of turntables. In fact, it's the second largest selling album in Columbia Records history, and they've had some biggies. After waiting so many years before finally connecting with the public, Billy was under enormous pressure to record a new album which sounded exactly like The Stranger. Fortunately, Billy ignored them all and moved uptown to 52nd Street.
52nd Street has this history being where all the great jazz clubs, Jack Teagarden, Charlie Parker, all the jazz greats, Gene Krupa, had places on 52nd Street. It used to be called Swing Street. We were going to bring up the ghosts of all the jazz greats. We were going to sneak out of the studio at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning and have a little jazz parade down 52nd Street, you know. Bring a horn and a little glockenspiel and a harmonica and a guitar and just kind of pop down the street and sing and see if we could walk the length of the street without getting arrested for making noise.
Sometimes it's hard to know whether a Billy Joel song is autobiographical or allegorical. Billy painfully remembers one which was both.
Well, Big Shot, I've gotten so many different reactions to it. I mean, is that about somebody you know who made a jerk out of themselves? Is it a put-down song? In a way, it is a put-down song. It's a put-down of myself. It started out about me writing about looking in the mirror in the bathroom in the morning and going, you really had to be a big shot, didn't you? You know? But everybody's had that. Everybody's done that. I've had so many hangovers in my life, and I'll probably have one tomorrow morning, too. I always wanted to write that. And I have a joke. Whenever I go out and get bombed, I could call it research. I'm researching a song. This is research for a song I'm gonna write. You had to be a big shot, didn't you? You had to be a big shot.
Billy Joel looks at life, liberty, and the pursuit of excellence. Next on the special of the week, I'm Robert W. Morgan. I'm Robert W. Morgan on the special of the week with Billy Joel.
I can only talk about myself so much, and then I start to get real bored. I'm on a hot streak.
Billy Joel earned extra cash in his spare time as a rock critic, reviewing shows and interviewing artists. Now he finds himself on the other side of the question, giving answers, and that makes him uncomfortable. On the outside, he may be as cocky as a prizefighter, but deep down, Billy's more curious about lives other than his own.
I don't find myself particularly interesting. After 7, 8 years of talking about myself, you get to be Billy Joel'd out, and it gets embarrassing. It's hard to understand. I do get a kick out of seeing my name in the paper, sure, anybody would. But, I mean, I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a Winston Churchill. I mean, I'm not a profound speaker. I'll go on and on and on. If I was gonna sit here for 2 hours and ask you about you, man, you could go on and on and on. Anybody would. To me, the best critics are like the 17-year-old kid who stands in line all night to get the ticket, and then he usually gets a lousy seat. And if he didn't like the show, then he should write the review and say, I think it stunk because blah, 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 blah. He really represents more what the audience is than the critic does.
And the critics agree. Billy Joel really is the entertainer. Back when he was in high school, Billy used music as his passport between the world of his greaser friends and the campus bohemians, the intellectuals of the day. He hasn't changed, but because Billy's music continues to touch the lives of so many different kinds of people, some self-styled experts doubt his sincerity.
That's it. When they go after my integrity, that to me is like a slap in the face. That bothers me. I have this thing about dignity. If somebody's going to punch me in the face, I don't believe in turning the other cheek. I believe in punching him right back. Can't help. It's my roots.
Honesty. It's in Billy Joel's life. It's in his music. He's taken his philosophy of life to heart, living up to his full potential and having fun doing it. Quite simply, Billy Joel's become the best at being Billy Joel.
I'm lucky. I've had a pretty good sense of where I'm at or what I should be doing for a long time because my parents made me take piano lessons when I was 4 years old. And I got an insight into what my particular field was, what my talent was. It's a great gig. I mean, what a gig. And I never lose sight of that, and I hope I never do.
The special of the week was written and produced by Alan Daniel Goldblatt. Associate producer Mary Kilmartin. Our director was Lee Hansen. Our engineer, Stu Jacobs. Special thanks to the Special of the Week players. The Special of the Week is produced and distributed by Watermark Incorporated. Executive producer, Tom Rounds. I'm Robert W. Morgan. Thanks for listening. The Special of the Week has been brought to you by Michelob. Weekends are made for Michelob.
All right, I do want to thank everybody for joining me today. If you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and tap on the subscribe button, which is right up here. And don't forget to check out what I have up here for you. And but I do want to thank everybody again. And keep on spinning, and I'll see you next time.